All right, great. Well, thanks to everybody who's joined the call today. I think I know many of you, but for those of you who don't know me, my name's Emily Koss. I'm obviously involved with SWE CRS, SWE's Chicago Regional Section. This year, I am in the role of Vice President of Professional Development. So I work with our professional development team to put together different events and opportunities for our members. Obviously, over the past year, a lot of those events have moved virtually. But one of the benefits of moving everything virtually is we have the opportunity to have a lot of great events like the event we have for you guys today, which is obviously this event with Jamie, where we're going to be talking about how to ask for a promotion and get it. But before I pass it over to Jamie to give her introduction, I wanted to do a couple of quick SWE plugs. So I mentioned before, SWE CRS is SWE's Chicago Regional Section. I think most of you who are on the call today, if not all of you, are members of SWE. But if you are not a SWE member and you're interested in becoming a SWE member, we'd love to have you. We've got lots of great events like this one, and you can contact myself or you can reach out to someone else on our SWE Executive Council by going to our website, which is chicago.swe.org, and you can get more information there. And the other thing I wanted to plug is the scholarships that we've got open now. So we have a couple of scholarships that we'll be giving away this year. There are scholarships for graduating high school seniors and for students who are currently studying engineering or computer science in college. And the applications for our scholarships will be closing May 1st. So if you know of anybody who might be interested in a scholarship, they can also visit our website, which is, again, chicago.swe.org to get more information, or feel free to reach out to me or anybody else in the Executive Council. So without further ado, I'll say one last SWE plug, which is this event has been put together by the SWE Professional Development Team, as I mentioned, but specifically Tara Manish is the one who found Jamie and organized this whole event. So kudos to Tara. Thanks so much for putting this together. I know I speak for everyone when I say we're really excited to learn from you today, Jamie.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Society of Women Engineers, Chicago chapter, and anyone else who's joining us. It is my great privilege and honor to speak to you today about how to ask for a promotion and get it. So, Emily, I'm going to bring you back to attendee. All right. Okay, let's rock and roll. So my name is Jamie Lee. I'm in New York City. I work as an executive coach. I help smart women get promoted and better paid. And I am really thrilled to be presenting how to ask for a promotion and get it. Here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn a proven, actionable, 5-step process for asking for the promotion and getting it. And this process is something that I walk each and every one of my clients through. They're all women, and many of them work in engineering, many of them work in tech and science. And I'm really happy to share with you that just this week, I celebrated a client of mine who is a woman engineer. She earned a spot bonus from her company applying this 5-step process. Another client of mine is a data scientist, and she got promoted to principal data scientist and increased her income by $50,000 by applying this simple 5-step process. Before I do that, I'm also going to talk to you about what a lot of women do that does not work. That does not work in getting a promotion. I'm going to tell you why so many women do it and how you can stop doing it starting today. So you can implement this process and get you on the fast track for promotion, because we need more women, women engineers, women in tech, STEM women to get promoted, to close the gender wage gap, to close the leadership gap, to close the color gap, right? And so if you're here and you're like, oh, this sounds too good to be true, how will I know this will work for me? Here's how you know this is for you. This is specifically for you if you are an overachiever. if you are somebody who prides in getting things done, and perhaps you are also a minority, a woman of color, an immigrant like myself. I was born in South Korea. I immigrated here 31 years ago. And regardless of how you identify yourself, if you want to improve your visibility, you want to have more ownership, you want to have more sense of accomplishment in your career, you are at the right place. You want to get promoted. Let's find out how you can. And before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit more about me. As an executive coach for smart women, I specialize in helping smart women who hate office politics. I help them get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. I feel like I have a lifelong training on this topic because what this takes is self-advocacy skills. What this takes is self-confidence. And I am a daughter of a really amazing immigrant woman, my mother, who came here 30 plus years ago with 3 little girls in tow. And she ended up running her own business by herself as a single mother. You know, she got divorced and she had to run this business by herself. She had to raise 3 daughters by herself while speaking English a little bit worse than Margaret Cho. Margaret Cho's mom. I know I'm I'm like dating myself here because, dating myself because I once gave this talk at the Western Washington University to their computer science department, to the undergrad at the computer science department. No one knew who Margaret Cho was. Everybody knows who Awkwafina is, right? Margaret Cho came before Awkwafina. Margaret Cho is the Korean American comedian, and she did this hilarious impersonation of her Korean mother's thick Korean accent. I'd watch that and be like, oh my God, my mom's English is a little bit worse than that. And she ran her own business. And as I was growing up as an immigrant latchkey kid, she'd be like, Jamie, you gotta speak up. You gotta ask for what you want. You gotta believe in yourself. Speak up, ask for what you want, right? She was teaching me self-advocacy, self-confidence all throughout my childhood. So I have had a lifelong training with my mom. And 10 years ago, after working in finance as a hedge fund analyst, I realized, wow, I don't know how to negotiate for myself. I don't know how to ask for the promotion and get it. And that's when I realized my mom is right. I gotta ask, I gotta speak up, I gotta learn how to do this. And when I realized that, I realized actually this is a skill a lot of women, you know, those women who didn't have a Monday morning quarterback like my mom in their childhood, those women, they need this too. And that's when I started organizing workshops and teaching negotiation as a life skill, as a professional skill. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, there is demand for this. People want this. Women really want this. Women really want to become advocates. They want to become better negotiators for themselves. They want to be in the driver's seat of their career. And so I started teaching negotiation in live workshops, group workshops around the country. I traveled, again, to Washington State. I traveled to Africa. I traveled to Asia. I traveled to Canada. And I was teaching negotiation as a skill. And about 4 years ago, I realized, hey, these skills, these tactics, these strategies, they work, but without the mindset, without the inner work of building self-confidence, it doesn't stick. And that's when I realized, wow, I really got to help women one-on-one, help them with these skills and the mindset so that they implement, so they take action, so they grow themselves and get promoted and better paid and learn a lifelong skill that they can implement for the rest of their career. And that is why 4 years ago, I became an executive coach. And that's how I've been working since 4 years ago, helping women one-on-one, helping them get promoted and better paid, even if they hate office politics. They don't have to play those games. But here's the thing that I have learned in my experience, that thousands of women around the world, even the smart ones, even the engineering ones, even the one working in tech and finance, they take too long to ask for the promotion. And when they take too long to ask, they take too long to get promoted. And instead, they're often overcommitting, they're over-delivering, because remember, they're overachievers, but they're under-communicating their wants and their wins. And why is that? They're under-communicating, they're over-delivering, they're over-committing because communicating their wants, communicating their wins feel uncomfortable. And when it feels uncomfortable and they're instead over-committing, over-delivering, here's what they do instead. And I want to take a very quick pause to brighten this room because the sun just went down in New York City. So I'll be right back. Okay. And voila, and then there was light. So when smart women under-communicate their wants and win, they're over-delivering, over-communicating because having that conversation about getting promoted is uncomfortable, they often find themselves in the 3A trap. The first A of the 3A trap is avoid. They avoid the conversation. And avoiding the conversation often looks like this. It's like, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm not comfortable yet. They haven't recognized me yet. I haven't achieved it yet, right? And when they avoid the conversation, in other words, when they don't directly communicate what they want, communicate that they want to be promoted, communicate that they want to be lead data scientists, they often are accommodating. Accommodating as in they take responsibility for their manager's feelings, or they just say, oh, you have a last minute request? Okay, I'll do it. Of course, no problem. They're accommodating because, again, they're avoiding the discomfort of saying no or not taking responsibility for other people's feelings. And while this is going on, inside there is the desire to get promoted and better paid. And of course, that desire is not being expressed. And when desire is not being expressed, there's frustration that grows on the inside, right? And so when you avoid, you accommodate, and eventually that frustration and resentment grows, and sometimes it just blows up. And often they attack, not outwardly, but inwardly. People that I coach, those smart women that I often work with, they find themselves attacking themselves. They are beating themselves up. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't feel great. I'm too anxious. There's something wrong with me. They attacking themselves, or they attack people that can't fight back. They take this frustration and anger, they bring it home, and they vent this frustration on people who can't fight back, like your spouse or other people. And I know this from experience because I've been in it. I've been in the 3A trap. Before I realized my mom was right, I was avoiding, keeping my head down. I didn't want to seem arrogant. I don't want to brag. And I was accommodating. If people ask me, I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do that. No problem. Not stepping into my authority. But of course, this led to frustration. So I was angry and resentful on the inside, not expressing it to the people who needed to know or addressing it head on, but really attacking myself and coming home and feeling bad. And when this is going on, it's a cycle that sort of, feeds itself, right? It's the trap. You can't seem to go out of it because when you attack, then again, out of guilt or shame, you avoid again. And then when you're avoiding, you accommodate, and you accommodate, you attack. Yeah. And when you're in this 3A trap, the conversation about what you want in your career, the conversation to ask for that promotion can feel like an interrogation, a referendum, an impeachment. And so when it does, then of course you stay in the 3A trap. Yeah. But so this begs the question, why? Why is it so uncomfortable to ask for what you want? Why do we revert to the 3A trap instead of getting out of it, instead of seeing this conversation as a joint problem-solving, mutually beneficial conversation? Why do we see it as if like it's a personal attack or a referendum, an interrogation? The answer is really simple. The reason why we do this is that we have a brain that's evolved, but also at the same time, we have a part of a brain that's very primitive. And this primitive part of the brain simply does not want us to fail. And for this primitive part of the brain, or the amygdala, the primitive part of the brain, anything that risks the status quo is potential for failure. And potential for failure, the brain perceives as like, oh, we can't do it. We can't do it. And so of course it fires up discomfort, anxiety, doubt, worry, yeah? And when we're in this, when we're believing the lies that our brain tells us to protect us from the risk of failure, we can end up buying into comfort fallacy. Comfort fallacy sounds like this. Comfort fallacy sounds like, oh, I need to be comfortable to ask for the promotion I want. I need to be comfortable, and that's how I know I will be confident. But in the meantime, you have fake comfort. You're not really comfortable waiting for comfort. You're not feeling great. And when we're waiting for this comfort to arrive, we often buy into perfectionist fantasy. Like, and that sounds like, I gotta complete this project. I gotta do a really great job. I gotta just nail this. And then I'm gonna feel ready. And then I'm gonna feel comfortable. And then somebody's gonna recognize me. And then it's gonna be perfect for me to ask for the promotion. Or once I achieve that milestone, then it's gonna be the perfect time. But we all know that when we wait to achieve a certain milestone, the milestone just gets pushed out, or another milestone gets established. So we never reach the milestone. It's perpetually out of reach. This can also culminate in the Tiara Syndrome. The Tiara Syndrome is very, very common. I have experienced it myself. Tiara Syndrome sounds like, I gotta keep my head down, do good work, and they should notice. They should notice, the people in power, my manager, my colleagues, they should just notice that I deserve it, and they should anoint me with recognition, a promotion, a raise. I shouldn't have to ask. This is what the Tiara Syndrome is. And I experienced this firsthand. Years ago, I used to work as a procurement agent for a startup here in New York City. And I came up with a plan that was going to save the company $100,000 in packaging purchases. And at that time, the company was making $1 million. So $100,000 is a lot of money. And I thought, I nailed it. That was perfect. They're going to reward me with a promotion. I don't even have to ask. I got to present this beautiful plan in front of the executive team. It's coming. I don't have to ask for it. It's coming my way. I shouldn't have to ask. And did they give me that promotion? No. Because the Tiara Syndrome is a lie, just like comfort fallacy and the perfectionist fantasy. Waiting for somebody to recognize, waiting for somebody to anoint you with a tiara as if we exist in a Disney fairy tale never happens in real life. You want to be a badass, not a Disney princess, because Disney princesses are not real, yeah? So what happens though when we buy into the comfort fallacy, buy into the perfectionist fantasy and the Tiara Syndrome? And again, this is so normal, so common. Here's what happens as a result. Because you don't ask, because you wait, you lack experience in advocating for yourself. And when you lack experience in advocating for yourself, you lack confidence, because confidence is created as a result of taking action. And so when you don't have this experience, when you don't have this confidence, you don't know how to be gracefully assertive, how to be respectful, how to stay in your authenticity and stand your ground, stand firmly in what you want. Another negotiation scholar calls this being the iron fist in a velvet glove, right? You're graceful, you're respectful, but you're not giving up. You're not conceding. You're not just saying yes to whatever people ask you to do. You're able to say no. You're able to stay committed to what you want. But you don't know how to do that if you're lacking experience and you don't have the confidence. And so then, of course, you feel stuck in the middle. Maybe you feel stuck in middle management. And you might be thinking about quitting. It's like, oh, I feel so frustrated here. And so when you're in this result, what can happen is you can feel like just you don't have enough. You need something else to happen in order for you to feel comfortable and ready, like it's going to be perfect for you to ask for that promotion. And again, I want to remind you, this is normal because our brain wants to protect us from failure, but the brain lies. The brain lies so that we can stay protected from failure. I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth is getting promoted, asking for the promotion you want, getting promoted is in your control. Because when you feel like getting promoted is not in your control, you feel like you need more education. You feel like you need a formal evaluation process. You need a different boss. You need to prove yourself. You need to do more. You need to sacrifice your personal time to prove that you're worth it to get promoted. And when I tell my clients, you don't need another degree, you don't need an MBA, you don't need a formal evaluation process, you don't need your boss to be different, you don't need to prove yourself, you don't need to work longer, harder hours. They're like, oh, really? Maybe it's possible for me too. And I know this to be true for myself because 6 years ago, I worked as an operations director at a tech company here in New York, and I asked for a promotion. I didn't have a technical degree. I'm not an engineering by trade or by training. The startup had no evaluation process, had no HR processes. My boss, he was a great guy, but he wasn't all that interested, nor was he really involved in helping me grow my career. And you know what? I didn't need to prove myself. I did not spend more time, more of my personal time to prove that I'm worthy of a promotion. I just asked. I just asked to become senior director. I just asked so that I can have a greater headcount. I just asked that I get to pick the person that reports to me, and they're like, okay, great, do it. I mean, it wasn't immediate. It did take time. I was patient. Eventually, I got what I asked for. The point I'm here to make is that getting promoted is in your control. It absolutely is. I have a client of mine who got promoted to director, and then she found herself working 70 hours a week because she felt she needed to prove herself to be worthy of the promotion. And through coaching, she realized, oh, I don't need to do that. And so she stopped working 70 hours a week. She's now working 40 hours a week. She learned to negotiate for herself, negotiate a work-life balance. She got to ask for more headcount, and she got to hire 2 more people in her team, and she just got promoted to senior director herself. So again, getting promoted is in your control when you implement the 5-step process that I'm going to tell you about now. First, you want to assess the impact of your contributions. You want to take stock, take inventory of how you are adding value, how you are contributing. I like to think of this step as doing the math. Let's just count, let's just quantify, let's just assess the facts of how you are contributing. Then you want to make decisions for results you want rather than results you're trying to avoid. Remember, when you're making decisions for results you're trying to avoid, that can easily lead to the 3A trap. And of course, you got to have lots of conversations. Negotiation is a conversation. You got to plot, you got to ask, you got to tell people what you want. You got to ask for the promotion. And finally, you got to honor commitments to yourself, because I will promise you, these steps are easy, they're simple, but when you go to take that action, you're not going to want to do it unless you make a decision and you make this a commitment to honor for yourself. Okay, so let's go through the 5-step process one by one. First, assessing the impact of your contributions. There are the immediate contributions that you make when you get your work done. And I know we have overachievers here, and overachievers, we love immediacy. We love getting it done. And so when we love getting it done, we kind of get carried away by the dopamine hit of getting things done, that immediacy. But when we do, we often overlook the beyond benefits of your contributions. And often when we're overlooking the beyond, we're also kind of over-indexing on thinking about what hasn't yet gotten done, so that we are not we're not really fully objectively assessing how we add value. But when we think about the beyond benefit, this requires a bigger perspective for you to think about not just the immediate benefit of getting things done, but like, how does getting this work done impact? How does it benefit the stakeholders, the investors, the clients? I'll give you an example. A client of mine is a mechanical engineer. She works for a startup in California. And she was talking to me about how she has this MacGyver-like ability to come up with cost-efficient solutions, very elegant solutions to technical problems. And so she was like, yeah, I'm getting this done. I'm coming up with these solutions. They're sort of like MacGyver-like solutions. And she wasn't really seeing the beyond benefit. So I asked her, how does the company benefit? What happens as a result? And what we uncovered by considering the bigger perspective is that her MacGyver-like skills help her CEO be able to keep his word to his investors, that the company is able to meet its milestones. In other words, because of our solutions, the company is able to meet its milestones. And when the company meets its milestones, the credibility grows. The company's CEO is able to go back to its investors and maintain a working relationship, maintain the credibility. And this is hugely valuable, hugely. Right? So I also want you to consider what might be the beyond benefit of my immediate contributions. And this way you're able to validate for yourself the work, the value, the benefit you bring, as well as be able to think bigger about the potential you have to add. When you go to ask for the promotion, you want to be focused on the potential value add, right? And so this requires you to celebrate yourself and also receive the credit that you're already getting. The reason why I emphasize this is because when overachieving women get credit from other people, they have a tendency to be like, oh, that's nothing. They have a tendency to discount the credit they're already receiving because they're over-indexing on what's not yet done, right? They're not neutrally assessing the value they bring. But when they're able to self-validate, celebrate their wins, celebrate the value they're bringing now, they're able to receive the credit, take it in and own it. Own that you are an overachiever, own that you are over-delivering, and be proud of it. And when you're able to do that, that's when you're able to claim credit for the value you add. And this is really important because you want to get out of the 3A trap, right? And when you assess the impact of your contributions from a neutral perspective, you gain awareness. And awareness is the A that helps you get out of the avoid, accommodate, attack trap. You're able to have self-awareness, assess yourself neutrally, and get out of the 3A trap. Okay, so let's talk about the second step. You got to make some decisions. Now, this is really important. It sounds simple, but it's really important because deciding ahead of time is a key leadership skill and is a key negotiation skill. You want to be able to decide for yourself, what is my goal? What is my desired outcome ahead of time, so you know what you want when you go into that conversation. No brainer, right? And in the process of you getting promoted, asking for the promotion and getting promoted, you want to think about you in this context. You want to create a relationship with the person that you're becoming, the VP of engineering, the lead data scientist, principal engineer, the CTO that you are becoming. You are here now, and in the process of becoming your future self, there will be obstacles, but we're going to come up with a strategy that is informed by the person that you're becoming. And this looks like asking yourself, how do I grow into the person who makes this happen? And this is really important because this brings the power and the control to your court. We don't need the boss to change. We can grow ourselves. We don't need the other people to change. We can evolve ourselves. And when we do, we're able to prioritize and make decisions better. We're able to come up with strategies informed by and inspired by the person that you're becoming. In my coaching practice, I have a very fun exercise that I walk each and every one of my clients through, and I help them come up with obstacles and then come up with solutions. They're solutions that's informed by their own future self. And when we do that, we also come up with a clear strategy on how you will communicate, how you will show up to those conversations when you express your wins, when you express your want, when you tell them that you want to get promoted. And so the next step is have conversations. Be human. Now, this is important. The reason why I drew it this way is because I wanted to emphasize that in your journey of getting promoted, it's not about dependence. You're not dependent on a particular person. You're not dependent on the boss or the promotion committee. You can rely on your interdependence because you are in a interdependent, interconnected network at work, in your career. People depend on you, you depend on them, right? It's give and take. And sometimes you have some weak ties, sometimes you have some strong ties. And in your journey to get promoted, you want to have conversations with as many people as possible so that you can be informed about what is possible. How can I move forward? Who are people who's done this before, and how might they provide information and insight so that I know how to best move forward? And also in your career, getting promoted is less about who you know, it's about who knows you. And so before the formal evaluation process, if you have one at your company, before that, you want to, at least 6 months before that, you want to have conversations with stakeholders. You want to have conversation with your boss, and you want to let them know, hey, I have a desire to grow. I'm invested in growing with this company, or I want to become a lead data scientist, lead engineer, and you want to have this conversation before you're ready. Remember, waiting until you're ready is buying into comfort fallacy. It's buying into perfectionist fantasy. When you keep waiting for ready, ready never arrives. So again, 6 months before the formal evaluation process, before you're ready, you want to have as many conversations as possible. It's a series of conversations. Okay, and getting on their radar, of leaders and managers, and letting them know about your contribution and your desire, it helps them because they want to know what's going on at the field level, at your level. It helps them. It helps them do their jobs better. It helps them look better to their own bosses. So having conversations is a win-win strategy. It also is a negotiation strategy because negotiation is a conversation. And of course, you got to apply. You got to put your hand up. You got to ask for the role again before you're ready. And when you do, only 3 things can happen. You hear yes, you hear no, or you hear thoughts. That's it. Those are the only 3 things that can happen when you ask and apply for the role that you want. And when you get feedback, when you get thoughts from your manager, from the promotion committee, you can learn to listen to their thoughts, listen to their feedback without giving up, without conceding. This is a key and critical negotiation skill. You can listen to understand their point of view without conceding your point, without taking blame, without feeling sorry or blaming them, without turning this into an interrogation. And how you do this is you get curious, not furious. You don't have to take everything personally. You can just observe, you can just engage in the conversation from a place of curiosity. I wonder why they're saying that. Or even better yet, you can ask them open-ended questions. Hey, if you think I'm not ready for a promotion yet, what would you like to see from me specifically? What would you need to see from me specifically so that we all know I am ready? Or if they say, oh, this is, it's not my decision, it's beyond my control, then you can get curious and say, okay, thanks for sharing that with me. Tell me, whom would we need to include in this conversation so that we can move forward? This way, you can problem solve as the leader that you are becoming, as your future self would, right? You want to engage in this conversation as the person who's already promoted. You want to be demonstrating your readiness throughout the process, even when they say no. Another client of mine, also an engineer, also a woman in tech, she works for life sciences, and she got told no several times when she applied for promotions. And instead of giving up, she just kept going for it again and again and again until her direct manager put her up for a new expanded role, because the manager saw, oh, you know, my client, she's ready. She's demonstrated. Not only is she ready, she wants it. And so she got the promotion, even after hearing no multiple times. And so the next step is you got to honor commitments to yourself, right? Assessing your impact, making decisions for who you want to be and how you want to show up, having conversations, applying for the role. Simple, but when you go to take action, your brain will fire up discomfort, doubt, fear, anxiety, 100% normal. Nothing has gone wrong. You'll just not want to do it. That's normal too. But when you honor commitments to yourself, you choose courage over comfort. You choose discipline. You choose discipline to take action because you're committed. You're committed to taking action for yourself, for your future self. And so this way you choose resilience. You choose emotional resilience. You choose resourcefulness, not giving up. You choose emotional agency in this process because this requires you to be in control of how you feel and how you show up. And it is possible when you honor commitments to yourself. And this way, when you do this, you also choose to reward, not reprimand yourself, right? You want to build yourself up, not beat yourself up to the result that you want. And when you can honor commitments to yourself, and the reason why this is all choice, you got to choose courage, choose discipline, choose resilience, choose reward. The reason for that, when you think about commitment, like think about marriage. Marriage is a significant life commitment, right? And when you are committed, you are just making a choice over and over and over again, day in and day out. And so you want to do that for yourself, for the future leader that you're becoming, for your income potential, for your growth potential, right? And so when you do this, even when you're told no, even when the journey has obstacles, you keep going until you get promoted. Okay, so let's do a quick recap and I'll explain why this process works. When you neutrally assess the impact of your contributions, when you take stock of how you're adding value, you build belief in the value you bring. And when you build belief in the value you bring and the value you will add, when you go to articulate your potential, you do it in a compelling way. You do it in a clear and confident way. And people who want to promote you, they want to be compelled. They want to be inspired when you speak of the value you will bring. And when you make decisions for who you are becoming and how you're going to show up to overcome obstacles to become that person, this is how you build self-confidence. When you decide for yourself that your opinion of you, how you see yourself, is more important than what other people may or may not think about you, this is the secret ingredient to building self-confidence. And self-confident leaders are direly needed. Self-confident women leaders are in demand. And when you have conversations, you build evidence through taking action that this is who you are. This is what you can do. And sometimes in conversations, within the context of conversations, you learn about possibilities. You learn about, oh, this is how I can overcome that obstacle. Oh, this is how I can get promoted, or this is how I can pivot my career. And so again, you build evidence that you can get promoted. And also when you take action and apply for the role you want, this directly builds self-advocacy skill through action, through experience. And of course, again, when you take action, this is how you build confidence. And when you honor commitments to yourself, you build integrity as a leader. When you're promoted, you're going to be a leader, right? And leaders act with integrity. They honor the commitment they make to their team, to their stakeholders. And you can't demonstrate that you can do that unless you do it for yourself. You do it for yourself, and then you're able to do it for your team, and then you're able to demonstrate that at a bigger, higher level. So this is why this 5-step process works. That is the training. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to build these skill sets, right? Each one of these are skill sets. I want to give you an opportunity to start building these skill sets right away. And that's because every single day that goes by is an opportunity for you to engage in courageous conversations, to advocate for your career, for your growth, to get promoted. And I know there are a lot of smart women here who are members of Society of Women Engineers. And for smart people, it's really tempting to be like, oh, that's easy. Okay, that's nice. Okay, I know that. You know what? I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll give it a try, maybe next month, next quarter, next year. I think I'm going to wait and see. This is so common. But I'm here to tell you, waiting to build these skill sets, waiting to implement the process is waiting to get promoted. Waiting to actualize your potential for greater impact, for more income, for closing the gender wage gap, the color gap, the leadership gap. None of that is going to close by themselves, not without you getting promoted, not without you closing your wage gap, leadership gap, right? It has to start with you. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but at the same time, there's never been a greater time for women who are working in male-dominated industries to ask for the promotion and get it. Like, think about this. Just like 65 years ago, it would have been impossible for women like me, women of color and immigrant, to have a career in America. We weren't even allowed here. I know there's a lot of talk about Asian hate, but like, hey, several decades ago, we weren't even allowed to be here until the laws changed. And some decades ago, women didn't have the right to have their own credit cards. I mean, it's insane, but now we do. And this is the best time for you to get started on these skill sets. Starting on these skill sets today is the most important thing you can do for your career. And when you do, not only do you benefit yourself, your family, your legacy, the folks who follow in your footsteps, if you're a woman of color like myself, the people who are looking to you for an example of what is possible, but it also benefits your organization because there is this deep demand, there's hunger in this world for women's leadership. And you benefit your community. And when you do, you benefit the world. This is the stand that I take. When women rise, the rising tide raises all boats. When women rise, the world benefits. And so I want to give you an opportunity to get started on these skill sets right away. I want to give you an opportunity to guarantee your results. I want to tell you about my coaching program. My coaching program is designed for women on the rise. It's designed for women who are already managers and they want to become directors, senior directors, VPs. They want to become CTO and beyond. It's designed for weekly accountability so that you can have consistency and you can stay on track to tangible results. And what you gain is a neutral perspective from me, who is a negotiation and leadership expert for women. And you get 100% confidential, 100% safe space that is solely designed for your personal and professional growth. And for this reason, my coaching program is 6 months, because 6 months is the average time that a committed client creates tangible results in her career, getting promoted, getting better paid. And you get weekly hour-long Zoom meetings, Zoom coaching sessions with me. And in these coaching sessions, we work on both the mindset, which creates the executive presence that you want, which is the secret tool for you to become more influential in these conversations. And then we also work on the strategy. We work on communication strategy. How are you going to engage? How are you going to overcome those obstacles? What will you say? What will you do even when you're told no? How will you respond to pushback? So you get implementation support all the way to your promotion. And in between, we also evaluate when you take action on the strategy and the implementation. We evaluate, we get to celebrate, we get to help you build that self-validation skill. And so that this is a continuous growth opportunity. And when you do this, you learn how to advocate for yourself and you learn skills that you can apply for the rest of your career. So, for those of you who are interested, before you commit, I invite you to a one-on-one consultation conversation with me. And in this conversation, what we're going to do, what I'm going to help you do is create a custom coaching plan for your specific situation. In other words, I'm going to help you see how you can use this process and how it can work for your specific situation so that you have a bespoke, custom tailored experience. And you also get to have a first-hand experience of this 100% confidential, safe space that is solely designed for your growth. And also, before you commit to coaching, you want to ensure this is going to be a slam dunk fit for both sides, right? And so I want to invite you to book your consult today. Most of you who registered for this webinar, you should have already gotten an email from me with the link to book your consult. And the link is calendly.com/JamieLee/consult. And if you just open that email, click on that link, you can see options for booking this complimentary consultation with me today. Okay. And again, this is a 60-minute one-on-one conversation. You will be guided through the intake, just like when you go to the doctor's office. I'm going to ask you some questions to better understand the result you have now, the result that you want to create, the promotion you want to have. And then I'm going to help you see how you can implement this process or customize it for your specific situation. And if you don't see a time that works for you in this link, just email me direct, jamie@jamieleecoach.com, and we will make it work. Okay, so I am going to open the floor for questions now. Okay, so if you have questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A box. I'm going to take a sip of water. Anonymous asks, how do you gauge what is reasonable when you are asking for a promotion or a raise? Excellent question. So if you're not sure what is reasonable, you want to have conversations. Have conversations with people you already know and trust. So that was step number 3, right? In the process. Have conversations with people who already got promoted and ask them, hey, I'm just curious, you know, how was that process? What was that like for you? You could ask mentors, you could ask people that you know and trust, what do you think is reasonable for me to ask for in this industry, right? Because it's very specific to every industry. Sometimes it's very specific to a company, depending on the size of the company, where that company is in their stage of growth, right? And so I just want to offer, again, have conversations. Find out by engaging in real human conversations, human-to-human conversation, and ask, hey, you know, I'm thinking about asking to become lead data scientist, and I'm thinking I'd like to ask for a raise to $180,000. Do you think that's reasonable, or do you think I'm bonkers, right? You could ask, have conversations, and find out through conversations. Okay, I think I said conversations about 20 times. Okay. Anonymous asks, how does coaching session work for somebody who is a junior engineer barely 6 months into their career? So thank you for your question. It probably is not a great fit for you if you are 6 months into your career. So yeah, so I want to suggest there are other coaches out there. I specialize in working with women who are in the middle of their career and want to step into the executive leadership, into that growth. Okay, so in the question, we talk about identifying obstacles through the sidestep. Can you provide an example of an obstacle and how you would plan to overcome it? Okay, excellent question, Emily. So let me think. I do this all the time now that I'm like on the spot. So let's say that in your mind, an obstacle is, I'm trying to come up with like a real life example. What was an obstacle that a client overcame? So often an obstacle is interpersonal, right? I'm not sure how other people will take it. I'm not sure how my colleague will respond if I do get promoted. And so that could be, it's a perceived obstacle, right? Because your mind is starting to worry about the impact on your relationship if you do get promoted. And so then I ask my client, okay, let's think about who you would be when you are promoted. When you are promoted, when you are that leader who has a greater sense of confidence, greater sense of accomplishment, a greater sense of fulfillment, then how do you respond? Then how do you show up to somebody who may have some opinions? And often the answer is, well, it's not a problem, really. People are allowed to have their opinions. People are allowed to have thoughts and feelings. And if they do, I can have a conversation with them. I can help them problem solve as a leader, right? So that is one example. And again, I want to offer, like when you, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. All right. Yeah, we want to be badasses, not Disney princesses, because Disney princesses are fairy tale. They're not real. It doesn't help us. Okay. How do I ask for a promotion if the team is highly dysfunctional and if your boss doesn't provide you with opportunities to grow in a corporation. So great question. And I think this would be a great thing to think about. Okay, how do I assess neutrally, right? That's step one. How do I assess the situation? How do I separate the math from the drama? Okay, so what is actually happening at this company? And what are my thoughts about it? And if your boss doesn't provide you with opportunities to grow in a corporation, often, not always. Okay, so I wanna make sure my thoughts are organized. So I think there are this is a two-part answer. First, you wanna ask yourself, like, exactly what am I observing? What are the facts? What are the quantifiable facts about the team? And what are my thoughts about it? And this is important because how you think about it will create how you feel about it. And when you feel your team is highly dysfunctional, I can totally understand. You would feel like this is going to be really hard, it's difficult, maybe frustrated, right? And when you're feeling frustrated, you're not coming up with your best ideas about how to engage in that conversation. Your creative juices aren't flowing, right? You're not able to access your high functioning negotiation brain, right? And so you want to be able to think about, like, you know, if somebody else were to see the situation, what might they say, so that you can gain some perspective, some neutrality around the situation, and then think about if you know, if I were to advise my friend on this situation, what would I suggest they do? And for the second part, and if the boss doesn't provide you with opportunities to grow in a corporation. Okay, so for that, I want to offer often, but not always. If your boss isn't providing you with opportunities to grow, sometimes the boss simply doesn't know that you want to grow. This literally happened with so many of my clients. I have a client who works in, again, another technology company, and she realized, you know, she had this gut feeling that the boss wasn't supporting her. But then when I asked her, okay, what are the facts? She's like, okay, I don't really have any facts. It's just this gut feeling. Okay. And I'm like, again, what are the facts of what your boss is saying? The boss is saying, you know, I think these opportunities are great for you. And she agrees. But in fact, she has a very specific idea about how she wants to grow in her career. She just hasn't told the boss yet, because for this time, she was just thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't support me. But when she did tell him, he's like, oh, great. Yeah, that's a great idea. Go for it. Yeah. Bosses do not read your mind. They don't know that you want to have opportunities to grow unless you tell them. Okay, so that's why you want to take step number 4. You got to apply, you got to ask, you got to let them know this is what you want. And you want to be directive. You want to help the boss help you. Tell them, hey, I want to grow in this way. I want to grow in this specific way. What do you think is my area of growth? What do you think I can do to get there? Okay. And another question. Okay, this is the same question. All right. Someone asked, when asking for a raise, should you have your accomplishments written on a slide deck? Up to you. I know clients who have done this. And when I asked for my raise, I did come prepared. Like, I made an itemized list of my accomplishments because it helped me. It helped fuel my confidence. There is no wrong or right way to ask for a raise. I want to offer the best way is one that fuels your confidence. Does it help you feel confident and certain in the conversation? Is slide deck something that people normally do in your company? And if not, then I don't know, maybe you want to think about, okay, what would not make me feel so like that this was overkill? I work at a small company that has had all previous engineers leave every 2 years. I want to grow with them, but how do I request the path to longevity be installed? The path to longevity is one that you install for yourself. This is step number 2. You got to make decisions. You have to decide for yourself, do I want to stay in this company? Do I want to have longevity here? Because no one can make you leave until you decide to leave, right? That's your decision. So you got to decide, do I want to stay here? Do I want to stay here for the long term? And if so, why? And then you want to commit yourself to that reason. Unless you change your mind, that's up to you. So the path to longevity is totally in your court. That is in your control. And then from there, you decide, okay, if I want to stay for the long haul, then what would I like? Then what support would help me stay here for the long term, right? Now the conversation is different. It's not about them bequeathing, them giving you the path to longevity. It's like, no, we show up and we problem solve for how you can make this happen. Excellent questions, everyone. So again, if you want to take this conversation further, and if you are somebody who wants to grow in your career, you're middle of your career, you want to go to senior leadership and beyond, my mission is to help as many women as possible reach the C-suite, reach the boardroom, crash that glass ceiling. If that is you, if that's what you want, I invite you to book a consult today. And if you don't see a time that works for you, just reach out to me. We will make it work. I will show you step by step how you can customize this 5-step process so that it works for you, so that you get promoted and better paid. So without further ado, unless there are any other questions, you're most welcome. Anonymous says thank you. Thank you again to everyone here, to Society of Women Engineers, to Tara, to Emily, everyone who showed up. And also, I want to let you know, there will be a recording. I'll send you the replay. So thank you again. Have a great evening. Bye.